And welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Peter Winnick. I'm the founder and CEO of Thought Leadership Leverage, and you're joining us on the podcast today, which is Leveraging Thought Leadership. Today, my guest is Moshe Engelberg, and he is the founder and CEO of ResearchWorks. He has been in the consulting space for a long, long time. His focus is business was missing love, which I think in many cases it still is, which means your job is not yet done. He was inspired to write a book, which is really cool. It's called The Amare Wave, Uplifting Business by Putting Love to Work. That's what we're going to focus on. I mean, we can go into his degrees and all that sort of stuff, but I really want to just dive into the Amare Wave. And first off, okay, so after many, many years as a consultant, it took you that long to realize there's no love in the workplace? Or what was the coconut that fell on your head?
Well, there were three things that converged. And it did take time, and maybe there were signals earlier that I didn't pay enough attention to. That happens to us humans. The three things were a powerful conversation with the client, really smart guy, pretty high up in a very large global medical technology company. And he said to me, Moshe, we hate our customers. And it was striking. The choice of language was striking, and I knew it to be true from my work with them. There was just this unhappiness and this resentment between them. Like, well, we'd rather go direct consumers, but we have to go.
Yep.
They were a manufacturer and they sold through a middleman, and really didn't like it. But the curse, so to speak, was they made money. They could have made a lot more money had they not hated their customers. But that resentment really got in the way of healthy relationships and maximizing the business opportunity. And I thought about it, Peter, and realized not a lot of people would say we hate our customers, but there's often not a lot of love between companies and customers. Like, they're such a pain in the ass, and it would be so much. One guy said, it'd be so much easier if we just didn't have to deal with our customers. So
remember the movie Clerks from back in the day? The two stoners in the video store. This is the greatest job ever, except we hate the damn customers.
That's kind of the point. So is that notion that it's not unusual for there to be these bad feelings between companies and their customers, and it can be pretty foundational. The second one was the predatory language of business. And I learned this early in my career. I was at Stanford getting my PhD and deciding what career path do I want to take? Do I want to stay in academia? Do I want to go in consulting? I ended up doing some of both. So I had 2 feet in the academic world, 2 feet in the consulting world, and was pretty busy for a while. And along the way, I was looking into some of the bigger management consulting firms, McKinsey, BCG, and so on. And at the time, this was a few years ago, the vernacular was, there's 2 kinds of people we hire, they would say. We hire hunters and skinners. Hunters bring the business, skinners do the work. And even at the time, I was in my late 20s, I thought, boy, that's bizarre. There's just something weird about that idea. We talk about the people who give us money essentially as prey to be killed and skinned. And it bothered me. And then I sort of forgot. And I got caught up in it. And I tell my own clients, I'd say, we'll help you capture more market share. We'll help you. So we have this predatory language of, we're going to crush the competition. We're going to annihilate them, the famous
quote. We're killing it.
We're killing it. And this notion of subduing customers is how we win. We'll bend them to our will. So in my book, I contrast the business's war paradigm, drawing on the Marine Corps and their modus operandi, and business. And a lot of us function under this business war paradigm. It's a lot of fighting, crush it till we destroy them, till we dominate.
But that comes, if you go back on that comes directly out of the post-World War II military-industrial complex, leaders that were successful in that domain, moving into the corporate domain and having that same ilk and mindset of what is the battle plan? Like, we didn't have strategy, we had battle plans, right? Like, we didn't crush it, like exactly what you said. And I think the world changed, right? And that just became an antiquated way of thinking. Like, who wants to get up and kill people every day? Like, that's not fun.
It is not fun. And no one really enjoys it. Well, some people do, but most don't. And you're right. That's
psychopaths do.
This military industrial complex. And we said, who can help us build railroads? Who can help us grow? It's the military. They know how to do this kind of thing. So the languages and the cultures and the ways got conflated. Yep. So I propose a business as love paradigm, and that's where that realization, business is missing love, came in, was that we had our customers' idea where there was this contempt between companies and those they serve, the predatory language of business.
Yep.
And the third was my own
So,
spiritual journey of recognizing we're kind of, at the core, we're all kind of the same.
so I get that conceptually. And now how do you integrate that, or how does that become the core of your business, right? So now you have to go out there and say, you're a smart guy. I was a consultant. Now you're selling love to the business world. Like, how did that morph and transform and change your business?
Well, it took a while, and now I'm all in with it.
Yep.
And the business model has shifted. I'll talk about that in a moment. And first off, I want to say people don't need to use the word love. So I talked to some pretty hardened conservative CEOs, and some of them are arms folded. Yeah, like, go back to California and hug a tree. What are you talking about? This is business. And then, so I'm saying, call it grilled cheese. I don't care what you call it, but the idea, the way I define.
But let's pause there for a minute, because I think, and I've heard this before, not just in your content. So if you have a concept like emotional intelligence, right? Something that is new. Sometimes the words that are really the essence or the root or the core scare too many people away. And we have to sort of, like you said, call it a grilled cheese sandwich. I don't care what you call it. But I think I love that your awareness to it, to say, geez, if I stuck with love, there's a self-selection process that's really limiting as a business. How do I sort of convert those that would lean in, but that word might repel them? And I think that's a hard thing to do.
It is. And there's a couple ways I do that. One is, I want to point out, the name of the book is called the Amare Wave. Amare is Latin for love. And a friend of mine gave me that suggestion. And somehow it has this cachet to it. So I hear people call, hey, there's the Amare man. I'm saying, I never called myself that, but I like it. So Amare kind of frees people up from all the baggage that love has. And so that's one thing, is people can call it Amare and they're more comfortable. Or again, the grilled cheese sandwich. The other is to help people recognize that love belongs in business. And here's how I do that. I say, do you love, say, the Golden State Warriors, Pittsburgh Steelers, some sports team, or do you love In-N-Out Burgers? Do you love
Apple, whatever?
Yeah, Apple. And people, virtually everyone will say yes to something.
Yeah.
So then I point out, so as a customer, you're saying it's a good thing to love a company. So as a company, don't you want to be loved by your customers? Don't you want them to say, yeah, I love whoever it is? And say, of course you do. So then how do you get it? So that's a way to legitimize the idea of love and recognizing that it's not romantic.
But now you have to bridge it to, this isn't just an abstract piece. There's good business logic underneath that. So if Apple has customers that love them, which they do, and I'm just using them as an example, right? When they come up with a new product, guess what? They can charge more money for it. They know that those customers are going to buy it. Remember the days of people lining up for the new iPhone, pick a number, and literally sleeping in the street, to be the first in line to get the product. Like, that's love, man, right? Like, so love equal loyalty, equal profits, equal all that. So how do you sort of take it full circle there? Because there's an ROI to LOVE, right?
There totally is. And there's lots of research that shows that. So one book, Firms of Endearment by Raj Sisodia and company, showed an 8-to-1, I'm looking at my numbers, an 8-to-1 return compared to the S&P over 10 years. It's like 1,000% versus about 120%. And there's huge. A lot. Yeah, there is. So there's a lot of empirical research that shows it. There's also just the plain logic of, if people in my company are happy because we take good care of them and customers love us, of course we'll make more money. People will choose us. We're not just a commodity. So there's different ways to make the case for ROI.
If you're enjoying this episode of Leveraging Thought Leadership, please make sure to subscribe. If you'd like to help spread the word about our podcast, please leave us a review and share it with your friends. We're available on Apple Podcast and on all major listening apps, as well as at thoughtleadershipleverage.com/podcasts. So now I get it. And now explain to me then, how do I pay you for Amare? What flavors does it come in? Who are you waving? Who are you like, what does it look like? What are you doing and whom are you doing it for?
Well, I appreciate the question. I've been thinking about that a lot and clarifying it, because a colleague asked me recently, so what's the profile of your optimal clients? And I had kind of a mediocre very vague
Mm-hmm.
answer. I thought that wasn't very good. I need to be clear about, if I want to tap
Sure.
and I want to be clear about this. And so the ideal clients are, there's kind of two camps. One is people who are business leaders who are on this path. Now, they don't have to call it love. It might be under servant leadership. It might just be under treating people well, the golden rule, whatever. But they're on that path of, yeah, we believe in treating people well. We know it's not all about money. We know we have a more important purpose, and money is a really important byproduct. So they're on that path, but they know something's missing. They could be better, and they may not know what it is. So they bring me in for this Amare framework, and with it, they know I've consulted for years on organizational positioning, brand strategy, new product innovation.
But there is a self-selection piece, and I think it's important to realize, hey, I don't want to be in the conversion business, right? You're a relatively small business. You're not a 100,000 person organization where you can afford to nurture a certain client base for 2 years until they engage. So your choice was, wait a minute, what are the other things that would indicate that someone would be, it's almost like the Amazon algorithm, people that like this, like that. So people that are into conscious capitalism or being corporate social responsibility, et cetera, would have a higher propensity than maybe a bond trader at Goldman Sachs or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it's just people who, it's in their DNA to treat people well and say, we care about people. The other group, Peter, is those who may not be there, but they're frustrated. They're saying, I'm worn out. I've been waking up every day doing this, and I make a lot of money, and have this company, and I have the dream, but I'm unhappy, and and I don't know what to do about it.
So it's either, hey, I'm really into this, or I hate this, right?
Yes.
So how do you find because the first group, my marketing brain starts to click. I'm like, yeah, I can find that. I can find that in no time. How do I find the business leader, because they have to have the authority, the budget, decision-making ability, et cetera, that's in essence having the equivalent of sort of the midlife crisis or the existential crisis in their career? How do you know that? What are the patterns or indications that, Fred over there he's having a moment?
Yeah. Well, it's through networking, it's through podcasts, it's through the usual vehicles, but it's tapping into that emotional piece of unhappiness. And people will often speak, so particularly men are more willing to speak to being frustrated or tired. Women are more open to speak to unhappiness per se in leadership.
Okay.
So there's usually ways people talk to it, or they'll receive that, like that'll touch them, that message. So it's getting the message out through a lot of channels and going, this person I know who's in that camp will know other people who are in the similar camp, because it's such a common problem, and it's the way we do business, where we kind of reward people fighting and getting worn out, and we say that's good. That's a sign of success.
That sounds like a bit of a challenge to consistently find the right flow of those to drive a business. Is there, and because I'm a consultant, I think in matrices, right? So on the one hand, there's sort of personal unhappiness or frustration, or call it what you will. And is there another end of the matrix that is situational? Hey, I got a new boss that I hate, or we just things that are happening in the business world that might increase someone's misery factor?
Yes. Yeah. And a lot of it is situational, but situations over time lead to just plain getting worn out, and I don't want more of this. But the specific situations, it could be M&A activity,
Got it.
downsizing. So there are events I can tap into and have my team work on. And you're right, that is a harder reach than the first group who's already say, yeah, we're in this camp. And there is what you alluded to before, there is the third group, which I aspire to work with, and it'll be tougher. And it's the Ubers of the world, who were built with a philosophy of crush and destroy, with pretty much zero compassion. And Wells Fargo, who keep getting into the news for reasons that are not good, and Facebook with Cambridge Analytica. So if we
so I get that, but so let's take Uber for example, the bro culture, all the icky stuff that was going on there, right? It wasn't until their CEO got some real deep crap that the board finally said enough, and they gave him several passes because the company was on fire, and then they said enough, and he's out, right? So, and that pattern tends to play itself out if there's an external factor that puts the firm at risk, whether it's publicly traded or pre-IPO, IPO, whatever. How many companies before they got in trouble like that said, yeah, we're ready to change. You use Facebook as an example or some others. Yeah, or Wells Fargo. Yeah, we know we've done some really bad things and we're dishonest and we lie and steal and cheat. But until, that's kind of working for us. Like, do they ever wake up on their own and say, you know what? Yeah, we don't want to be jerks anymore.
Occasionally, but usually it's getting in trouble.
Okay. So do you rat them out to drive business? So like a tip line that you could.
Well, speaking of tipping points, what I see happening is we have such divisiveness in our country right now and in the world, and that creates a hunger for a better way that's not always that antagonism and the fighting. And I don't mean this as a political statement as much as a statement of here's what's going on in our world. And people, especially some in our generation or my generation of boomers, but also my kids' generation of millennials, I think particularly there, and there's a lot of leaders emerging from that cohort, they're saying, that's bullshit. We don't want that. We don't want to live that way. So our bigger macro environment creates more of a hunger for this. There's got to be something that's more authentic, that feels better, and will make us a lot of money.
Well, and I think, we're living in the age of transparency and Glassdoor and all that, where, there are plenty of companies out there that everybody knew, not that they were bad, but they're really bad to work for. You're going to grind it out 80 hours, if you want to be a partner in a law firm, whatever. And then those things start to come out and it's like, now it's a problem for them to attract the right people. And then it comes out to the customers and say, wait a minute, like there's an expectation we have of, let's say, a Trader Joe's or a Whole Foods, that partly why we go there is they're aligned with my values. And we believe, and we have reason to believe that they treat their people well, right?
Yes.
Versus, Walmart gets beat up a lot.
Yeah, there is that transparency. Some of it's due to technology, and so it's harder to hide. It is. Mm-hmm. So the next piece is for our culture to say, we like this approach better. So my vision is this Amare Wave. I use the word wave to say it's happening. There's a phenomenon doing this, is to name it, make it a thing where it'll attract momentum and more businesses to where there's hundreds of thousands saying, we're an Amare company, and they show it, they live it. That's what I dream.
So it sounds like it's the percentage of companies or people or leaders that are anti-Amare Wave are probably small. There's probably a large population that would embrace it, could embrace it, assuming they were exposed to it and it was explained to them in a non-scary, yeah, that kind of jives with who I am and where we want to be, or maybe a little bit aspirational. So it seems like that's the wave that the visual of the wave I like, but that seems like the wave that it becomes something someone wants to get on that wave.
Yeah, exactly. And after that, I put a semicolon and said, and you're likely to make more money.
Right. Well, and I think there are parallels in that in terms of socially conscious investing. When it started as a big phenomenon 25 years ago, the trade-off was, I'm a good person. I'm only going to invest in companies that do good things. And I'm willing to pay a tax for that, meaning the returns that I expect on my investments will be, 50 basis points lower. Things have changed, and it is equal to or greater now. So now it's like, oh, wait, I can actually get a great return, be aligned to my values, and I don't have to be penalized for it. And if you think about, that seems to be a parallel trend to where you're going or where you're trying to take people to.
It is. And it's flipping the logic. It's flipping the status. So now the status quo is be more transactional, or don't focus on relationships and just do business. It's all business. And so it's shifting by asking, who doesn't want their customers to love them? Who doesn't want to improve their business?
Right.
So it's flipping it where that becomes a status quo, and the outliers become doing business the other way.
So you almost make the aspirational the default.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, this has been great, Mo. Appreciate your time. Any final, no pressure, but words of wisdom for anyone sort of on this journey or thinking about, I got a thing and I want to do something more with it. Any final words of wisdom there?
Yeah, a couple of things. One is, I would say you can do this. And there's some people who say, how do I get started? There's simple ways to get started. For example, have a conversation with your colleagues. Ask yourself, do we love our customers? Do they love us back? That's a very powerful starting point. And again, don't get hung up on the word love. Have fun with it. Call it whatever you want. And recognize there's really small steps, and the rewards can come pretty quickly. I can help. If people want to contact me, they can. And my book, I have lots of stuff on my website. Sure. Yeah. Lots
Great.
of ways to move this forward.
Great. Well, I appreciate your time. Thanks for sharing your experience with us today, Moshe. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great being with you, Peter. Thank you for what you do. Appreciate it.
Thanks. To learn more about Thought Leadership Leverage, please visit our website at thoughtleadershipleverage.com. To reach me directly, feel free to email me at peter@thoughtleadershipleverage.com. And please subscribe to Leveraging Thought Leadership on iTunes or your favorite podcast app to get your weekly episode automatically.